Bills currently have a three-headed tandem in the defensive end room, and it is so important because the Bills have rotated defensive ends and defensive linemen so often throughout the time that Sean McDermott has been the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. Hello, everyone. My name is Brett McDurphy, founder of the Go Bills podcast, and today on our player analysis series, we're going to discuss one of the players that is going to play a significant role in the 2024 season as a primarily backup and a run stopper for the Buffalo Bills. As you remember, last season, the Bills had two defensive ends that have left in free agency. One of them has signed with another team in Leonard, Floyd. The other one has not signed with another team in Shaq, Lawson, a former first-round pick by the Buffalo Bills. Now, the Bills have brought in some more talent and gotten bigger on the defensive line, and the first player on the defensive line player analysis series that we're going to talk about is someone who had a monster season last year, especially after Chase Young and other players have left the Washington Commanders. We will talk about this player and why I believe he is going to have an excellent season for the Buffalo Bills. We'll talk about him right after we hit our intro. Former seventh-round pick by the the Philadelphia Eagles, I should say, and transferred over to the Washington Commanders for the last few seasons. This player has had a monster season in 2023, and he is brought over to the Buffalo Bills on a one-year contract. He is going to have to play a significant role as a run stuffer, especially after the loss of Shaq Lawson, who did an excellent job of stopping the run for the Buffalo Bills. This year is going to be one of those years that the Bills are going to have to rotate more defensive linemen throughout the season. And this player in Casey Toohill is going to play a significant role for the Buffalo Bills in terms of what he will do on the field. Let's go over the measurements for Toohill and get to know him a little bit more. He is a defensive end that played his college ball at Stanford University. He was a seventh-round pick by the Philadelphia Eagles, 233rd overall, measuring in at 6'5", 254 pounds. He ran a 4.62 40 with 33.5-inch arms, so a long-armed type player. He's going to be super important to the Bills as he will play not only as a run stuffer, but also having 5 sacks last season with the Washington Commanders. He had 17 tackles, 1 forced fumble recovery. He also is going to wear jersey number 99 for the Buffalo Bills this season. So let's get to know him for a little bit more. Before I get into the pros and cons of Casey Toohill, I want to turn it over to PFF and go over some of the skills that he had on there. So bear with me one second as I take myself out of this screen. I'm going to present with another screen with PFF's updated grades on Toohill. As you see here on the screen, this is what Casey Toohill did in the 2023 season overall. Good numbers throughout the season. He had his season grades throughout the time. He played in 494 defensive snaps, 193 of those being on rushing defense, and then pass rushing on the other 291 attempts. He had 15 total tackles, 5 sacks, 2 quarterback hits, 8 hurries, as well as 1 batted pass, 11 tackles unassisted. The other 8 were assists. He missed tackled on 13.6% of the plays, so that number is a little high. And if you can get that number down a little, that would be great. 15 total stops. He also had 1 target, as you would say, on a play and 1 reception gone against him. Now, that's normal for a defensive end. You're not really supposed to be covering linemen or running backs in that, for that matter, in those situations. So we have to let that slide. But let's get to know him a little bit more on if he makes the 53-man roster or not, which is what John Robert asked. I strongly believe he will make the 53-man roster. He is one of those players that you'll see in the film has a high motor to him. And I think this is a player that reminds me so much of Kyle Williams in his day with the Buffalo Bills in his prime. He is just like Kyle Williams. So let's get to know him a little bit more from the other perspective that I have. And these are my notes here on Toohill and the pros and cons of him. Some of the pros and cons of Toohill are that he hustles and has a great effort on every play that he runs out there on the field. You'll see it in the film. Sometimes it's a play where it's not on his side of the field, and you see so many players take plays off, and when they're not involved in the play, they just kind of stand there. This is not what Casey Toohill does. He will put in the maximum effort every single play. And that's what gets him to be known as a cleanup guy, because when one player is about ready to get a sack, sometimes he doesn't get the sack, and that's where Toohill comes in and cleans it up for him. He also takes on traps / kick out blocks with leverage. He has a high energy to him. Like I mentioned, he can play pretty much every single snap out there as a run blocker as well as a pass rusher. He also has above average pass rush and edge rush moves. And he's a great depth piece for the Bills, and he will be a good number 4 option. But when you want to have him play every single snap out there on the field, that's where I think that there's some weaknesses to him compared to guys like AJ Epinesa, Greg Rousseau, and Von Miller that will be out there on the field. But having him as a depth piece for the Buffalo Bills is so important, especially when you want to rotate guys and keep fresh legs out there on the field for Greg Rousseau and AJ Epinesa to get the sack numbers that they are expected to get this season, which is around 10 to 15 sacks this year for both guys. Some of the cons for Toohill are that he struggles in three-point stance, especially at the line of scrimmage. He struggles not only as a pass rusher using the three technique, He also struggles with utilizing the pass rushing counter moves out there on the field as well. And this is where I think that he will have a significant play for the Bills, is that he's going to have Von Miller, who's one of the elite pass rushing skills guys out there in the NFL, behind him, and he can learn from him, especially at a younger age in the NFL, not really having that guy that can take him under his wing and become a elite pass rusher. And that's what Toohill will learn, especially at the summit that they have for defensive ends. He'll learn so many moves from Miller. And you add into the fact that not only is Toohill going to play for the Bills with Von Miller and Rousseau and Epinesa, but his opportunities don't need to be so significant. So when he is on the field, he will be making plays in the run game as well as in the passing game when he is on the field with elite pass rushers as well. And you have to remember not only the defensive ends that are out there, but we also have Daquan Jones as well as Ed Oliver in the middle of the field. And these are 3 elite, in my opinion, players on the Bills that are going to elevate his game even higher. Other cons for Toohill are that he struggles to set the run gaps, especially from the three-point stance, and he lacks rhythm or fluidity in pass rushing moves. As you will see in some of the film that I will show you in a couple of minutes, he is one of those players that has a high energy, but you can tell that he is more of the guy that just kind of tries to bull rush a little bit too much. And that's where if he has some more finesse moves in this game, it'll help him out a lot more. His salary for the 2024 season is $1.015 million. He is signed to a 1-year contract with the Bills. But if everything goes well and he has that high motor that Sean McDermott absolutely loves, he's also a former wrestler, which is another area that that Sean McDermott loves for his defensive line group, then he might get another contract extension for the Bills. Let's go into the film room and let's dive in and get to know Toohill from the film side of things. And the first play that we are going to see, this is just one of those plays I wanted to open up with his effort on these plays. And this is exactly where I believe Toohill is going to make an effort and a big plays for the Buffalo Bills. Check out this play here. As you see there, that's an excellent play from Toohill. I'm going to show it again just so that I can break it down for you guys a little bit more. Toohill pretty much had number 71 on him, and that's where you see a couple of guys that missed the sack on that play, one of them being Chase Young on that play. Toohill coming in and sacking Ryan Tannehill on that play. The next play that you will see, look for Toohill on the bottom of the screen, lined up at the defensive line group. That's going to be the right defensive end. He'll be lined up against the left tackle here. Check out what he does in this goal line. Actually, I'm sorry, not goal line play, but check out what he does on this play for a tackle for a loss. I'll show it one more time so you can see it. This is the play where, as you see, Toohill showing off his motor, getting into the backfield and creating a tackle for a loss on that play. The next play that I will show you is Toohill again. This is the goal line stop that he has here. He's lined up on the bottom of the screen here, and check out what he does on this play, setting the edge and then containing the edge as well. As you see there, lined up on the bottom of the screen, look at the burst and acceleration that he has to get into the backfield on this play. I'll show it one more time as you can see it. Lined up on the bottom of the screen there, stopping the running back for the Texans here and getting into the backfield. Great play from Toohill there. The next play I will show you, this is a sack play that he had, and this is one that I think it will showcase what his arsenal of sack moves are. Check it out here. I'll show it one more time. As you can see, this is where his motor comes into play, never giving up on a play, and this is why I like him so much for the Bills. Check out that play. Never giving up on the play, number 70, blocking very well on that play. And as you see, the quarterback flushing out of the pocket, and Toohill finally gets some leverage in the backfield, and he creates the sack there on that play. Next play that I will show you, this is the play where Deshaun Watson tries to scramble out to his left. Doesn't work out necessarily for Watson on that play. But check out the effort on this play from Toohill, not giving up on the play. Pretty much getting to the quarterback, showcasing that 4.64 40 speed that he has here, and just never stopping to give the play up and let the linebackers or the secondary get into the play. Like I said, he has a high acceleration, getting down the field, chasing down quarterbacks, and just being around the football throughout his time. I will go back to PFF here, showcasing some of his skills that he had as well on display. And I want to show you guys just a little bit more about him. As I mentioned, the 11 solo tackles that he had last season. His overall PFF grades in 2023, not spectacular, but decent numbers overall, 52.1 grade. His run defense, 51.7, and his pass rushing skills, 54. He did have the 15 stops, 5 sacks, 8 hurries, 2 quarterback hits, as well as 15 total pressures on the season. So as you get to know Casey Toohill a little bit more, I'd love to know from you guys, what do you think of the move that the Bills made by signing Toohill in the offseason? And do you think that he will make the roster for the Bills this season? Let us know in the comments below. You also have to remember that the Bills do have a ton of defensive ends in their room right now. They have guys like Greg Rousseau, AJ Epinesa, Von Miller out there, Toohill, Dwayne Smoot, as well as Javon Sullivan, and add into the fact that they have Kingsley Jonathan in the mix as well. So the defensive line group there is so deep that it's going to be tough to see Casey Toohill make the roster. But when you have a motor like he does out there on the field, I think that it's just evident for me to see him make the roster for the Buffalo Bills. Don't keep your expectations so high on what he does throughout the season in terms of sack numbers or stat lines, but I think that he will make some significant plays for the Bills this season. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on all social media platforms. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter, as well as Threads. And also don't forget that we can show you all of our upcoming shows on our website, gobillspodcast.com. Click on over to the website where you can find all the upcoming shows under the 2024 podcast schedule. This has been the Go Bills Podcast and Player Analysis Series presented by gobillspodcast.com, and we will see you next time for another edition of Player Analysis. That episode will be tomorrow night, and that player will be featured as a linebacker for the Buffalo Bills, somebody that comes into the Bills off of an excellent roster for the Philadelphia Eagles. If you can guess who that player is, let us know in the comments below. We will see you tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. As always, go Bills.